Hi, welcome. I am Kelly Hogue. I'm the founder of Root to Rise, and I will get more into that in a bit. But I'm going to be talking about behavioral health advising, which is what I do and what I love, and hopefully taking some of you guys through the process. But I will go through the background and the 5 steps that I use with my clients to create sustained success, holistic existence, and figuring out what that means. Um, Cool. Let's get into it. If you guys have any questions at all, go ahead and write them in the chat. I would love for this to be as interactive as possible. So I'm Kelly. I am a Capricorn stellium, so I'm like the most Capricorn ever, which is good and bad. I am very much a New Yorker. I now live in Los Angeles. I live in West Hollywood, but originally from New York. I moved back and forth twice, but I'm here for now. I grew up in a pretty unconventional routine in that both my parents kind of had a lot of flexibility. My mom worked for herself, she still does. My dad's an actor, so they were kind of always around, and it gave me this entrepreneurial spirit and kind of wanting to like break the rules and not really confined to vacation days and all that. Similarly, I went to 6 different colleges, a lot of back and forth, a lot of unalignment, a lot of like playing small and not really understanding who I was. But ultimately, it led me here to behavioral health advising and becoming the founder of Root to Rise. So what we'll cover today, we're going to talk about what behavior analysis and integrative health are, how they're related and why it matters, the 5-step pathway to holistic existence and sustained success, which is what I take my clients through, and how you can use these tools in your day-to-day life right now. Sound good? Okay, so what is behavioral health advising? It's fair if you've never heard this before because I made it up. But really what it is about turning your overwhelm into alignment. It's a mixture of applied behavior analysis, which is what I have my master's in, and integrative health to create this holistic lifestyle and really feel like your daily choices are aligned with the best version of you and the you that you're most proud of. So we're gonna get into this. This is the fun stuff. So applied behavior analysis, if you've never heard of it, that's perfectly fair because it's a very niche specialty. I got into it through working with children with autism, and if you know ABA, that's probably how you know it. So I worked with kids with autism for years and years and years, which I loved, and it's how I got my master's in this and was the path that I was ultimately going down. And I just realized that all these things that I was learning and I was applying could be used in just daily life and habit change and health. And I'd always been so passionate about health, and I realized if I could bridge these two, my education and my interest and intrigue in behavior and my love and my passion for health, like that's a career made in heaven for me. So I branched out and I was like, okay, so show me all the jobs of all the people doing this. And there really weren't any. So I was like, well, I guess I'll do it myself. So here we are. Here's this harmonious blend of science and woo-woo and evidence-based practices and integration. So it's amazing. And ABA is essentially focusing around how behavior works, important, how our environment affects our behaviors, and how our behavior is learned. So you can already start to see like how this can be effective in habit change, right? So there's some background to know. You may have heard of Skinner or Pavlov. Skinner uses operant conditioning, or he's kind of founded operant conditioning, which is focusing on what happens after behavior. If what happens after behavior is reinforcing, then it will cause the behavior to increase. If what happens after the behavior is a punishment, then it'll cause the behavior to decrease. We'll talk more about that in applications, I promise. And then Pavlov, this is one that most people know, like, Pavlov's dogs, right? The drooling, that's classical conditioning. So stimulus response pairing, it's involuntary. So remember, he would ring the bell and they would start to drool. It's involuntary. So both these things are very much related to our habits and our health. And now that's the sciencey part, right? and now the integrative health part. So I'm also have a certification in integrative health. And that really means on a very simplistic, level, the state of well-being in mind, body, and spirit. So sometimes we go to certain healers that really focus on our spirit. Sometimes we go to a doctor that just focuses on our body. Sometimes we, go to a therapist that focuses on our mind. But integrative health is integrating all of those things. So I think of it as this puzzle, right? Your career, your food, your mindfulness, movement, sleep, relationships, all of these are very much intertwined. I'm sure you felt that if you sleep too late, then your day is kind of messed up. Maybe you're overeating, or you're like trying to get quick sugars. If you're not mindful, maybe it affects your stress at work or your stress in your relationship. If you move, maybe you feel a little bit better. So when one of these is out of whack, it can cause the rest to be out of whack. But when they're all balanced, like, that's optimal, right? And that's the goal here. So ABA and integrative health helps us get to the root of the behavior so that you are able to rise into your highest self, the you that is most aligned, your truest self, the best, most innate version of you. It doesn't have to mean that you are the perfect human. I promise you, do not get confused with that. It means that you are your truest self. Does that make sense? Okay, so applications. There's a ton of applications in the way that we bridge these two things. Meditation is an obvious one, right? Overeating is a really big one. Goal setting, that is my jam. Stress management, sports achievement, there's a ton of research on that. Skill generalization, which means that you're able to apply your skills, no matter where you are. Morning and evening routines is a big one that we love to talk about. Learning new skills, skill acquisition, we'll definitely get into that. And consistency and exercise. Is this all making sense so far? I wish I could see you guys, but I can't. Okay. If anything is unclear, please write to me and let me know. So the 5-step path to holistic existence and sustained success. I always get tongue-tied saying that, but it feels good. Like I love to say it. Holistic existence, right? All the pieces of the puzzle are feeling really good, feeling true, and sustained success. So it's not like I'm going to do something for summer, or I'm going to do this like until my wedding, or I'm going to do this for a few weeks and then screw it. Like, no, we want your habits and your goals to be maintained and sustained. So how? There's 5 steps. These are the 5 steps that I take my clients through, and it's the transformation of a lifetime. So the background is shadow and the foundation, right? We're going to get into each of these, but just a quick overview. Shadow and foundation, skill acquisition, I alluded to earlier, integration, key, sustainability and future self, and then ongoing support. So this is like the pathway. The path that I take my clients on, the pathway that we go on together, how what I hold their hand through, and then eventually kind of loosen that grip. But this is it. I'm going to fill you in on how this works and how it can be applied to you. You don't necessarily need me to take you through this. So your shadow and foundational work. A lot of you have, if you're here, if you're familiar with WellSet, if you listen to the conversation prior to this, or the conversations that had been coming up through while WellSet has been providing all these different workshops, you've probably been exposed to shadow work, or at least the definition of shadow. And it's basically, I think about it with my psychology background, is kind of your subconscious, right? And we'll talk about that from a woo sense and also a sciencey sense. But this quote just stuck out to me so much. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you'll call it fate. So a lot of ABA talks about willpower, and also what we're in control of, and what fate really is, and how we have the right to make certain decisions. But where does all that come from, right? So this is kind of my hang up with the science of ABA, is that we measure observable behaviors and we don't really touch the unobservable behaviors. So unobservable behaviors are called covert behaviors, and BX is just a little sign for behavior. Covert behaviors, it's your thoughts, It's the things that we cannot see, we cannot observe. We all know that those things contribute to our overt behaviors, the behaviors that we can observe. So we need to identify the covert behaviors as well as the overt, because we can talk about behavior all day, but what about all the stuff that's going on that's causing the behavior, right? And I would just be remiss to not identify that with my clients. So confronting the inner dialogue, right? How is your mind holding you back? How are you playing small? How are you standing in your own way? What is the conversation that you're having with yourself? How is it, holding you back? For the most part, our shadow, right? It's like, it's icky. It's not the good stuff. It's kind of like the messy stuff that we don't want to let out. But we have to go through it to get to like accept it and get to the other side. We can't just go around it. We can try. We've all tried, but you really got to go through it, because otherwise, if we don't, we're just band-aiding it. And I am against band-aids. So we got to go through it, right? And this is the shadow. This is the foundational work. We're setting the tone for the rest of what we do so that all of this noise is out of the way. So step 2 then is skill acquisition. So it's learning new skills, right? There's a lot to learn here. There's a lot that is quieted. There's a lot that we were never taught, a lot of tools that just are not in our toolkit, and we are at a disadvantage because of that, both on the sciencey end and on the intuitive end. So for example, with ABA, a really important thing that we aren't really taught is the ABCs of behavior change. What's happening before behavior? What even is the behavior that we're trying to address? What's happening after? And how is that changing our lives? Like, is it punishment? Is it reinforcement? Is it making our behaviors increase? Is it making our behavior decrease? This is something that we just don't really learn. We don't know how to identify our behaviors in this way, in this antecedent way, and talk about like the stimulus, if you will. Antecedent and stimulus are kind of synonymous. Like, what is causing our behavior? And when I'm talking this whole time about behavior, I'm talking about like the things that I mentioned in the applications. Like, it could be overeating. It could be not being able to get yourself to exercise. It could be a lack of mindfulness. It could be something that, think of like something that you really, really, really want to do, and you know that you can do it, but you just cannot get yourself there. Whether it's waking up a little bit earlier, whether it's meditation is the one that we get really stuck on, whether it's having like a solid, consistent workout routine, whether it's eating more healthy, like all of these things in the health puzzle, the behavior that you want to change, like think about that. Think about what it is for you, and hold on to that for the rest of this workshop, so that you have something in mind and exactly how you can apply this. And then on the other end, so strengthening your intuition, right? There's a lot of indoctrination here. There's a lot of should, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of like arbitrary rules. We need to be able to clear all of this and strengthen our intuition. When we are young, when we're children, kind of like under the age of 10, we have a really strong intuition. We know if we want to play with on the playground. We know that we're full, that we don't want to eat a certain thing, that we really don't like broccoli. When our bellies hurt, we know, like we have the gut instinct. It's so strong as kids. But as we get older, all the noise, all the social constructs, all the podcasts, all the Instagram, all the news articles, it crowds it. It crowds us out. And our intuition gets weak. So I'm a big fan of learning to strengthen that intuition by having the knowledge and the tools of behavior change and the gut instinct that you feel confident in. That's going to help you identify what feels most aligned for you. And then ultimately, like we said, the goal, being your truest self. Everybody's different. What could work for you might not work for someone else, and vice versa. So how do we even begin to navigate all this, right? We're learning all these new skills together, and now what? Like, how do we apply them? So ABCs of behavior change. Let's dive into that. Let's dive into the science first. So start with the behavior that you want to change, right? This is called your target behavior, whether it's waking up a little bit earlier, whether it's, let's say, it could be meditation. Let's say it's that you eat after dinner, even though you are full and you're like, why do I keep doing this? It's really messing me up. Let's use that example. So what is happening right before you have that third bowl of ice cream? What is actually happening? What's the stimulus for this? Another way of thinking about it is the function. So we want to find the function. The function of your behavior is why it's happening. what is happening either in your environment, probably, to create this behavior? And what's happening immediately after? Is it feeling really good? Is it feeling yucky? Is your shadow coming up and there's negative self-talk? Or you're like, yes, this is amazing. What's happening? Again, I don't band-aid. I do not believe in band-aiding. I think it only gets you so far. It's not sustainable. So we need to find out what's actually happening on like a scientific root level, to figure out how to change it on a more intuitive level. So I'm going to give you an example about how to find the function of like the eating after dinner thing. So here we go. How to stop overeating. This is like a little flow chart that I made up that I think is really helpful, and it kind of beautifully illustrates the science and the intuition. So you know that you're going in, you've already had dinner, and now you're going in, you like had a little bit of dessert, you had a little bit of ice cream, maybe it's cookie dough, and you've like had a little bowl, right? And then you're sitting there and you're like, I kind of want more. Like, I already had ice cream. Maybe I'll just like have some yogurt with chocolate chips in it. It's like a little bit healthier. So you have your yogurt and you have the chocolate chips in it and you're like, okay, I'm good. And then you go back, sit on the couch, and you're like, oh, I'm still hungry. I don't know. I just want more. I'm like, I know I shouldn't, but like, I kind of want it. Should I just have it? I'm just going to have it. And you go back and you're like, okay, this time, like, I won't do chocolate chips, but maybe I'll just put like a little bit of peanut butter in it. So it's like still a little sweet, salty. And you have that. So now basically you're feeling completely out of control, right? Your intuition, the gut instinct, you don't know how to read it. You're like, my gut's telling me I'm still hungry. So how do we navigate this? How do we feel in control and feel confident and feel like we can trust our bodies? So the first thing that I would urge you to do is to stop and just take a breath. It doesn't matter if you're on the first bowl, you could be on the fifth bowl, doesn't matter. Just take a breath, right? When you notice, right? When you start to say like, okay, how do I feel more in control? That's when you take a breath and ask yourself, do I really want this? If you're like, I really don't want this, something else that I want maybe. Amazing. So go find a replacement behavior. Go find something else to do, an activity besides eating. And let me tell you, a really helpful tip with this is to make a list. You could do it right now. Make a list of replacement behaviors. The replacement behavior is something that you're doing instead of the behavior that you want to minimize, right? So if you make a list, it will be so much more helpful because you will have something to look at and say, I can do this. If you're in the moment and saying, no, I don't really want it, but like, what else am I doing? I might as well have it. Then you're setting yourself up for failure. So set yourself up for success here. Have a list, whether it be, I'm going to read my book, I'm going to watch this YouTube video, I'm going to call my mom. Like, make a list of things that make you feel happy, things you can do when you're bored. So okay, on the other end, you're like, okay, I'm going back again. Do I really want this? Yeah, I really, really want this. Okay, amazing. Why? Why do you want it? Because you're bored and it's an activity to do? Go back to the replacement behavior things. Is it because you want the taste? Okay, amazing. But you better taste it. You better enjoy it and not scarf it down and eat it in shame. Take a second, really chew it, sit with it, taste it, let it run over your tongue, enjoy the heck out of it. And then I bet you afterwards, you're gonna be like, oh, I really enjoyed that. And now I'm good, I'm satisfied. Or it could be because you're still hungry. If you're still hungry, that's perfectly fair for you to keep going back and keep going back. But if you're filling your body with ice cream or cookies or something that's not as nutrient dense, then of course you're not going to have enough. Of course you're still going to be hungry. So instead, maybe throughout the day you were just grazing a little bit, or you weren't really having a lot of protein, a lot of fiber, and you're like genuinely hungry. Eat something protein rich instead to satisfy your biological needs, your hormonal needs. Eat something that's gonna feel good. It's gonna be more nutrient dense. It's gonna fill you up. It's gonna make you feel satiated. Also, one I didn't include here, it could also be social. If it's a social thing and you're like, well, I saw my roommates eating, or like my fiance is eating, I get that. But maybe that's a deeper conversation, and maybe just having the realization like, oh, I just want it because they're having it. That could be enough to be like, well, maybe I don't have to have it. I don't really actually want it, right? Maybe I'll find something else to do, or maybe I can just sit with them and be in the moment. That makes sense? Okay. So integration, right? Now we have this knowledge, we have this information. we have the skills, we have the tools. How do we apply them? So that last one was an example of how to get ahead of like the overeating or kind of stop ourselves in that moment and use that. But what about on a day-to-day basis to start to strengthen your intuition? Like that's a great in the moment thing. But to play off that, if we are able to do small things, the small things trickle into very big things. And this is some feedback that I get from my clients all the time. They're like, oh my God, like we targeted this, but then it turned into that. Or like we only talked about this piece, but it affected this piece. Like, if you have an amazing morning routine, it's going to make you like maybe happier at work or more productive. The trickle effect. So this is a really great place to start with it. Consuming mindfully. It's a really great way to integrate. So how I like to think about this, I think it's very accessible to do it this way. Start where you're at. Start with one meal. So it could be breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever you feel is going to be easiest for you. Pick one meal and eliminate distractions. Eliminate like working and answering emails, eliminate texting, eliminate watching TV, eliminate FaceTiming even, unless you're like eating with another person. Eliminate the distractions, just be with your food and stay present. And I think a really great 3-step process to be able to stay present is to breathe, give gratitude, and chew. So what that looks like is you have your food, maybe you made yourself lunch, it's in the middle of the day, and you are getting hungry and you're like, okay, I'm gonna have to sit down with my lunch. Sit down with it first. That is an important step. I used to eat standing up all the time. I would eat like running to the subway. I would eat like at the kitchen counter. I wouldn't even like have a plate. My dad was like, Kelly Rose, like sit down when you eat. I was like, why does it matter? It matters. It really matters. So sit down first and foremost, but then just take a breath, like just ground down into the moment and take a breath. Feels so good. You can even do a little check-in, like roll your shoulders back or see how your body's feeling. Take a breath and then express some gratitude. It could be gratitude for the food in front of you. It could be gratitude for your girlfriend for, providing you with this meal. Maybe she made you lunch. It could be gratitude for the restaurant, for the farm, for your body, like for your home, for the table you're sitting at. Just express a little bit of gratitude. It's going to root you into the present moment, get you here now, right? Be here now. So where I'm going to get that tattooed on me one day. So now you're here, you're in it, you're present. Now I want you to chew. Similarly to sit, it seems like a no-brainer, but we both know that it's not. Like, how often do you scarf down food and you don't even chew it? So chew, enjoy it. And this is going to be a little bit easier after you've taken the breath and after you've expressed gratitude, because you're going to want to taste all these things that you just gave gratitude for, right? So chew. This is a really great way to start to notice what your body is telling you. You can give yourself some time to digest. You can see like, okay, how am I feeling before I eat? How am I feeling? What's the antecedent here, right? How am I feeling after I eat? Is this food actually making me feel nourished? Is maybe what I ate making me feel a little uncomfortable? Am I even enjoying what I'm eating? Like that's a big one, right? So often we just consume things because we feel like we should. Consume literally food, consume news, consume podcasts, consume information because we feel like we should. And it's so overwhelming. So this is a great way to ground back down into yourself and take a second for yourself. And it could be 5 minutes. No one has to know that you're doing any of these things, right? Or you can do it like as a family. If you have kids, you can all go around, say what you're grateful for. There's a lot of different ways to play here, right? There's a lot of different ways to be flexible. But remember, you can't get enough of what you don't need. And this is where the intuition falls, but also the behavior part. So think about the slide earlier. There's all these different ways to navigate. Like, do I really want this? Do I need this? You're not going to get enough of what you don't really need. And maybe you need the shadow work. Maybe this is pulling you back into there. Maybe you need to like just be a little bit more present. Maybe you need to actually just like do something that makes you feel not bored or feel stimulated. So keep in mind, this is a really amazing quote that I cannot take credit for. I don't remember where I found it, but you can't get enough of what you don't need. Write it down. Okay, so sustainability and future self. we talked about a few ways to make all of this sustainable, right? So balance, flexibility, more goal setting, which I didn't even really touch on today. But when you're making your goals, you want to keep it flexible. You want to meet yourself where you're at, right? You want to make sure what you're doing is bringing you joy. You want to make sure that your environment is setting you up for success. For example, like this is a big one that comes up with clients that come to me is I want to work out every day for the next 5 days, or I want to work out 5 days a week for the next few months. And I'll be like, okay, amazing. How much do you work out now? They're like, I don't. And I say, okay. So from going to 0 to 100, going to 0 to 5 days a week is not fair to yourself. Like it's admirable, but it's not fair. You need to meet yourself where you're at. And maybe you say like 2 to 3 times for the next week, or maybe you say 20 to 30 minutes. Like give yourself a window. That way when it's in there, you feel good. But if you set yourself up that's so limiting and you fall outside of it, you're gonna feel like a failure. Set yourself up for success. Keep balance in mind, keep flexibility in mind, keep joy in mind. Like do things that you like. If you hate spin, don't go to spin. If you hate running, I hate running. Don't run. Do things you enjoy. Otherwise you'll resent it and it won't work. And a lot of the time clients will come to me and they'll be like, okay, we mapped out this thing last week. We had it all set up. We set up the steps. I knew exactly how to get there. My environment was set up, meaning I had all my shoes laid out the night before, my keys and my yoga mat, it was all ready, and I didn't do it. And they'll be like, I failed. And I'll say, no way, that's valuable information. That is so valuable. Being like, hey, I didn't progress this past week. Okay, why? What's not working, right? Because if we were just like, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna keep doing something that I hate and doing something that I hate, that's not sustainable. So instead you listen to yourself and you're like, I can't do this. Like, I know that I should, I know that I want to, but I can't. That's so valuable. We just have to readdress, and we have to make sure like the motivation is accurate or correct, or that the thing you're even doing is something that matters to you and it's not an outside influence. So we'll just figure out what's working, what's not working, why. Always diving deeper, always asking why, and always trying to get back into that shadow, the subconscious. Okay. And then ongoing support. So this is a key point in my pathway, because I always offer the clients that I work with ongoing support, because life happens. Our habits can get messed up really easily, right? We move, we have a breakup, we have a new career, we get sick, someone we know gets sick, we have some kind of like crazy realization in our lives. We grow, like we are always evolving. So it's really easy for things to get out of whack. I'm sure you guys are feeling right now that maybe your routine has been completely 180'd. I always think that like the sustainability piece can be so amazing and so generalized, but like what about when something really deep happens? It disrupts our subconscious and our shadow and our foundational work and our habits. Like what then? And I don't think there's any problem having someone there to guide you and keep you accountable. Like I am such a big fan in that. I have a coach myself to hold me accountable. Like I don't think that we have to go through these things alone. I think that having this ongoing support as like a key element here speaks to the fact that like we're humans, we're not made to go through things alone. So if you need help and you need guidance and you need accountability, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, like that's an empowering feeling. More power to you. Okay. So again, personalized guidance and agent generalization, yes, sustainability, and therefore sustained success. And that's the whole point of all of this. So to wrap it up, I would love to answer any questions that you guys might have. If you guys have a specific behavior that you want to change, like how can I help you with that? If you want to connect with me, that's my Instagram, that's my website. But let me know if there's anything in particular. I know that this could be like a weird subject, which is why I don't offer a group program, because I think that we're kind of like touchy about our behaviors and our habits, kind of like a weird thing. Doesn't have to be a weird thing. I think we can definitely normalize it, and I'm on the path to trying to do that. But know that this is a safe space. And if you have a question, ask it. Like I am here to help you and to advise you in any way that I can. And that also being said, I do have a 5-week group course that I would love to invite you guys personally to. The 5-week course is do it at your own pace. Um, do it, it's 5 weeks, but within that week, you can do it however you want. It's all virtual, it's all online. You get one-on-one support with me throughout, unlimited support throughout the whole thing. There are voice, audio clips, there are visuals, there is writing, it's just amazing goodness. I have people going through it right now, and then the next one is starting soon. So if that's something of interest to you, then definitely reach out and connect. And I would love to take you through these 5 steps together. It's really profound. It's a lot of fun. So that's my offer and my invitation to you. Let me see if there are any questions. Yay, I've been in ABA for years. Yes, amazing. I'm so glad. That's so fun to see you here. I feel like there aren't that many people, and I know a couple like ABA floaters who are into this, and I love to see it. I love to talk. I would love to connect with you. I see something in like the Q&A part, but I can't open it. I'm not sure why.
Hey, Kelly, I can read that question for you.
Okay.
It says, what's your morning routine?
My morning routine, I am such a big fan of morning routines. I think that morning routines set you up for success, like big time. My non-negotiable is movement. I have to move in the morning. Like it feels so good, so grounding. It could be anything. It could be like strength. It could be yoga. I just need to move my body. It could be a walk. This morning, I had a really amazing morning routine. Did a little bit of journaling. I meditated. I moved. I made my coffee, my to-do list. But that's like ideal, right? Really, I think an important thing with your morning routine is identifying like what's gonna make me feel my best. What's the one thing that's like that is what lights me up. That's what gets me going. For me, it's the movement. Hope that helps. Just pass the test. Yay. Okay. Amazing. I'm gonna write down here the link to my course in case you want more interested in that, more information on that. If there's any other questions that I can take you guys through any part of this process that you're feeling a little bit unclear about, or you want a little bit more information about, let me know. I'm happy to. This is something that I love doing. I think it's fun because it's such a mix between like the woo-woo and the science. I mean, a lot of this isn't that woo-woo. I'm sure you guys have been to workshops over the past few weeks. There are a lot more woo-woo than this. But I just think it's so amazing to be able to strengthen our intuition in this way. It's something that we just don't do and like we lose touch with. And to be able to strengthen that feels so good. It feels so empowering. So I would love to help you guys through that if I can in any way. But if there's no more questions, thank you for being here. I'm so, so, so grateful. I'm honored to be able to have done this with WellSet, so thank you. There's also another Q&A that I cannot see. Tips for uncovering unconscious issues. Yeah, so it depends what the unconscious issues are. I would love to send you more resources on this. I definitely can. There's a ton. I kind of have like the standard things that I take my clients through, but I would love to send you something a little bit more personalized. If you want to either chat me your email address, or if you want to send me an email, then I can definitely send you a few, whether it be like meditation stuff or journaling prompts to uncover some of that shadow stuff that comes up. Is there another Q&A thing, or are we good? A little chat box. Yeah, cool. If that's it, thank you guys so much. I would love to connect. I would love to hear your takeaways from this and how you enjoyed it, and connect with you either on Instagram or email, or in my course. I would love to meet you. But thank you guys, and thank you, WellSet. This is so amazing. They're doing such fun, amazing things, making all this stuff really accessible, which I'm grateful to be a part of. So thank you guys. Have a really great day.
Thank you so much, Kelly. We're grateful to have you join us.
Thank you. Bye.
Hi, everyone.